earlier today. Game one of the doubleheader, a walk-off walk for Billy Hamilton and the Reds in a 5-4, 11-inning win. So here we are roughly 2.5 hours later, and you turn the page on what is turning into a beautiful spring night in Cincinnati. Game two of the doubleheader. Cubs have split the first two games of this four-game series. Once again, alongside Chris Welsh, Shannon Ford, and Jeff Pecoro, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. Good to get the Game 1 win. Adam Duvall was not in the lineup for the first game. He finished the game out in left field, but, maybe for the first time all year long, Chris, he's showing signs of coming out of this season-long slump.
Well, the last 5 games, you want to think that, Tom. He's seeing the ball a little bit better. He says he's hitting the ball a little bit better. He's certainly launching it into the sky and over the fence better than he did early in the year. But overall, the numbers aren't all that great for Adam Duvall. If you're going to see him put up numbers, however, like he did last year, 30 home runs, 100 runs batted in, he's got to have the at-bats. He has to have the reps, the raw numbers at plate appearances in order to get those kind of numbers. And I'm not really sure that he's going to be able to accumulate those type of at-bats because of that 4-man rotation the Reds are using in the outfield.
Let's take a look at the pitching matchup here for Game 2. We start with right-hander Sal Romano. He was on a real good roll until his last time out against the San Francisco Giants.
Well, he basically got ambushed by the Giants. They came off on the East Coast road trip where they didn't play very good baseball at all. They got back into AT&T Park, and boy, did they ever swing the bats, really the entire series. And Sal Romano pitched probably his worst game of the year. Prior to that, though, Sal had pitched some really solid baseball. Nothing that's going to raise your eyebrows and say, wow, this guy's going to be an ace in the future, but somebody who can get out there and give you 5 or 6 solid innings, keep your team in the ball game. He throws strikes. He pitches inside. He does a lot of things I really like.
Starting it for the Cubbies, he came over at the trade deadline last year, Jose Quintana.
I always look at this guy and I say, how does he ever get hit? He's got a good, quick, fast arm. He keeps his head still, a repeatable delivery, really good breaking ball and changeup. But he's got 28 walks in 40-something innings. That's as many walks as he had in 84 innings last year. So control has been the problem. Maybe the Reds will make him throw strikes.
All right, we also had a little bit of a dust-up in Game 1, and we have some reaction from that. We'll check in with Jeff Pecoro when we return on Fox Sports Ohio.
you by Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealers. By Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. And by Buick. Get a $5,500 purchase allowance on most Buick Envision models.
Good evening, meteorologist Brandon Orr here from Local 12. I know we saw on and off rain and even some thunderstorms throughout the day today. Temperatures cooling off into the lower 70s, but we still have some rain and even a few thunderstorms we're watching out on radar. However, going throughout the evening, rain chances will decrease. Now that we're getting rid of the heating of the day, we'll also get rid of a lot of the thunderstorms. So I'm hopeful for some drier weather a little bit later on tonight. Enjoy the game right here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Well, it looks beautiful here at the ballpark. And as Tom said, in game one, a little dust up in the 7th inning. It's our Elk and Elk storylines. Let's take you back to the 7th inning. Amir Garrett on the mound, 2 outs. He whiffs Javier Baez and lets out a roar, says Joe Madden. He let out a Lion King roar. Lion King should be reserved for Broadway. Well, Javier Baez didn't like it one bit, and he comes after Garrett. Both benches clear. And look who the first one is out there, Anthony Rizzo. That's one big fella being held back. Here comes Kyle Schwarber as well. Anyway, when it was all said and done, no punches thrown. Nobody was ejected in the game. Umpires did, though, talk to each of the pitchers as they came out to pitch subsequently after that. Here's what Garrett had to say after the game.
I play the game with a lot of emotion. But, you know, today was just one of those days. It's always high when we come out and play the Cubs, you know. I let it get the best of me today, but, you know, it happens. You know, I love Javi Baez as a player. You know, I love the way he plays the game. But, you know, if you're going to dish it, you got to take it sometimes, you know, and that's just how it goes. There's no hard feelings there. You know, it's over. You know, it's all in the ball game.
Emotion in baseball. Who knew? Up next, it is game 2 of the day-night doubleheader. Can the Reds sweep? The last time they did was back in 2014 against these same Chicago Cubs.
Set to make his 10th start of the year. He comes on 2 wins against 4 defeats. And trying to make it a doubleheader sweep for the Redlegs here on this May the 19th, 2018. The Chicago lineup under Joe Madden, who had some very interesting comments after the first game. Presented by Nissan. He'll go with Zobrist in right, Lastella at second, Bryant at third. Rizzo at first, Contreras behind the plate. Ian Happ had a big first game. Double, triple homer. Russell, the shortstop, Hayward in center, Quintana, a left-hander on the mound. What about Sal Romano?
Well, Big Sal's one of the harder throwers you're going to see. He averages up around 94 miles an hour on the fastball. He likes his slider as his next pitch, and he'll throw that about 18% of the time. Then the curve and then the changeup. Not many changes. Pitches inside, keeps the ball down. Oh, he's probably going to be one of those nights. We're not going to get the knee-high strike.
So the first pitch, ball one, getting us started here. It's even now to Zobrist at 1 ball and 1 strike. Zobrist did not start in game 1. He finished game 1 on the field. Cubs still had a couple of players who did not play at all in that first game, including the starting catcher, Contreras. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Zobrist, a .283 batter, has had an outstanding career. 3-time All-Star, has won a couple of world championships, one with Kansas City and then left there and came to Chicago and helped lead them with some huge hits in the World Series 2 years ago. 2-2 on Zobrist.
Zobrist is a guy that just tries to simplify things as much as he possibly can. Short swing, especially with 2 strikes on him. He's trying to short stroke it.
Yeah, there's so many Cub hitters in this lineup that just make you work every single at bat. That's why it was so surprising in the first game. One of those guys is normally Anthony Rizzo. And in 2 of his 5 plate appearances, he swung at the first pitch. And the appeal is no, and Zobrist draws a walk to begin the game. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Duvall, the starting left. Shebler moves over to center. Hamilton, the second game off with Winker in right. Regular cast in the infield, and Cruz starts behind the plate. Well, it seemed like there were guys walking every time you turned around in the first game. Reds pitchers walked 9 batters and yet still gave up just 4 runs and won the game. And then in that final inning, in the bottom of the 11th, Wilson faced 4 batters. He walked 3 of them, including walking in the winning run.
I mean, it looked like a junior high school game when you've got a pitcher out there that can't throw the ball over the plate.
Strike 1 to Tommy La Stella. He had a big base hit against Raisel Iglesias and wound up scoring the tying run in that 2-run 8th inning when the Reds had a 4-2 lead in the first game. Iglesias gave up a home run, was very upset on the mound with a couple of calls he thought were strikes in the first batter in the inning, and Ian Happ, and it went downhill from there for Iglesias. In the left center field, man, here come the Cubs again. Throw goes into second base here at first and third, and I say again because the first game of the series, they had 5 straight hits last night, scoring 3 runs. In the first inning today, they had the bases loaded with only 1 out, and the starter Castillo got out of the inning. Joe Madden, some very interesting comments after that first game. We'll show you, what transpired, the situation between Amir Garrett and Javier Baez. But first things first, here's Chris Bryant. Bryant had 3 hits in the first game, a single, a double, knocked in a run in 6 at-bats. They're on the corners with nobody out. 1 ball, 1 strike. Romano to Bryant. Came inside, one of the rare times we've seen. You had the situation where Baez did not run the ball out to first. They had a base running blunder by Rizzo, not sliding here on a big play late in the game. They had an error, a walk-off walk. It was not a good game, said Madden. One of my worst sitting in the dugout. was very displeased with his team's effort.
Well, they were also horrible with runners in scoring position. They had multiple opportunities to put the game on ice and never did.
Yeah, they were 1 for 16. 1 for 16 with runners in scoring position. The last time the Reds held a team to no more than one hit in that many at-bats with runners in scoring position was a 3-2 13-inning win against San Diego, and that was 4 years ago. 5 years ago now. Padres went 1 for 17 in that game. 2-2 the count on Bryant. In the air down the right field line, angling over towards the stands and out of play. It remains 3 balls and 2 strikes on the Cub third baseman.
It's a good spot right there where you're pitching Bryant up and in with a fastball, especially one that has a little bit of life right there. Bryant, you can tell by the way he chases pitches down in the zone. That's where his eyes are focused. But now with 2 strikes, he's got a lot to protect.
3-2 once more to Bryant. Tapper down to third. They come to the plate. They're going to get the runner there. Well done by Suarez. And Zobrist cut down. Third to the plate.
Run on contact. Sometimes that play works, but most of the time it backfires on you, and it does right here with the Cubs. Zobrist is coming off third base. It was a tapper to Suarez. He's not getting 2 on this one anyway. The ball's just not hit hard enough. So his best shot is coming home. Get a lead runner right there. You keep a 0 on the board, and to keep the double play in order.
Boy, how quick was that exchange right there, Suarez, and how silky smooth was that?
Well, you remember he was for a long time middle infielder, turning plays at turning double plays at second base. Guy's a good ball player.
Sure is. Right now, he's the Reds' best player. I mean, Jeanette having a great year as well, and then all that to have that. A breaking ball in the first pitch in the at-bat to Rizzo, and now you're at second and third.
You know, when you throw a breaking ball on the very first pitch of an at-bat, normally what you're trying to do is just flip up a get-ahead breaking ball. Most hitters aren't looking for curveball on the first pitch, so they're going to take it, and that's what you're gambling on. So there's no reason why ever to bounce that one in the dirt.
1-0 the count on Anthony Rizzo. Boy, what a clutch at bat this guy had in that 8th inning against Raisel Iglesias. His team down a run, 2 outs, and doubled into left center field to tie the game. That was Rizzo's only hit. In 5 at-bats, he was also intentionally walked. Very slow start for the Cubs all-star first baseman, just a 201 batter.
I'll tell you, that pitch right there for Romano is just money. There aren't all that many right-handed pitchers that throw with this velocity that have that kind of backup movement. And no matter how you want to pull the trigger as a left-handed hitter, it's a tough thing to do because you're afraid of getting sawed off.
Rizzo again choking way up on that bat on a 2-strike pitch. Got him swinging on the high gas. Boy, 2 money at bats right there by Romano. 1 more to go.
This ought to give Sal Romano a little bit of confidence because he just worked through Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, 2 of the better hitters in the league. I don't care how Rizzo's going right now. I mean, these guys can hit, and they've been around, and they've been in World Series. And he stared him down and threw it by him.
Well, they've been in 3 straight National League Championship Series. 3 in a row. First time since 1906 to 1908. And here's Contreras. 1 more tough out. This guy really, for the people who watch the Cubs on a regular basis, they'll tell you they're not so sure if they could pick anybody in the lineup to be at the plate in a big situation in the game that they might not pick this guy over Rizzo or Bryant. Had a big breakout year last year. Second most home runs, second most runs batted in among all catchers in the National League. One ball, one strike. Bottom fell out of that slider. One and one on Wilson Contreras. Fly ball, left center field. What a job by Romano. What a job by Romano. Reds are coming up when we return. Presented by Nissan. Winker leads things off. He'll be in right field. Peraza and then Votto. Suarez already made a nice play down at third, cutting a runner down at the plate. Jeanette red hot. Duvall is in left. Ladder third is Schebler in center. Cruz catching Romano. Carlos Quintana is 29 years old, or Jose Quintana. I'm thinking of our old buddy Carlos Quintana. But, you know, this guy, he had a lot of really rock-solid years on some bad teams on the south side of Chicago. I mean, you look at his earned run average, 200 innings, 5 years in a row, ERA 3.5 or less, 5 years in a row, never been a big winner. Won 13 games in 2016 when he was an all-star for the White Sox.
Well, 200 innings 4 years in a row. So what they were hoping to get here with Quintana was not only a lot of innings, but a lot of quality innings. I mean, this guy projects, if you just scout his stuff, as a top-of-the-rotation type starter. They've not seen it yet here in Chicago. 8 starts, really too many walks.
Jesse Winker down, strike one.
In fact, Quintana has walked as many in 40-plus innings here, 41 innings with the Cubs this year, as he walked last year in 84 innings with the Cubs.
And he's coming off a very ugly game against Atlanta. He got beat, allowing a season-high 9 hits, a career-high tying 3 home runs in a 6-5 defeat on Monday. That was his first loss at Wrigley Field since joining the Cubs. He had started there 7-0. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Winker. 257 batter without a home run. Winker was 1 for 4, 1 of 5, I beg your pardon. In game 1, he had an infield hit and a little jam shot roller. Seen a lot of that from Winker lately. 1 away in the inning.
Well, that's the one thing that he's going to have to figure out, because the league has adjusted to Jesse Winker from seeing him last year in September, now seeing him this year so far in a month and a half. They're pitching him in and they're pounding him inside, and they're saying, young man, you've got to figure out a way to get the bat head on that baseball.
Now the shortstop Peraza, boy, did he show some grit in that first game. If you weren't with us, there was a pop-up early in the game where Luis Castillo caught the ball, and in the process with Peraza coming up behind him, Castillo accidentally spiked it. Don't know if it drew blood or not. And then later in the game, he fouled a ball off the same ankle. And every time the pitcher would turn around to see if he was okay, he just waved him off, said, let's keep playing. Jam shot, fly ball into short left field. That'll be the second out of the inning. Chicago on defense, presented by Ford, has Hayward moving into center field. Happ in left, Zobrist can play everywhere. We've seen Happ play all three outfield positions just in the first two games of this series. La Stella plays for Baez, and Contreras, a regular catcher, back in there for game 2. Hayward has always been a very good defender, primarily in right. Joey Votto down a strike. Votto 1 for 3, was on base twice, scored twice. Hook to the right side, and for Jose Quintana, an 8-pitch inning to set the side down in order. End of 1, no score. Friendly, Great American Ballpark for pitchers. He's been on his game.
Well, he has. I mean, sometimes you just don't know any better. And early in the year, the ball doesn't carry here. Hasn't been unfriendly yet. And I don't think it'll be too unfriendly for Romano anyway, because for the most part, he pitches down in the zone and he pitches inside. And it's so hard to get young pitchers to be committed to pitching inside, especially to left-handers.
Boy, it has turned into a beautiful night here in downtown Cincinnati. All the rain we've had the last 48 hours, including periods of game 1. And now a lot of blue skies, bright sunshine, perfect night, cool temperatures. Romano walked the first batter of the game, and now he's fallen behind the first batter in the second inning. Ian Happ 3-0. Happ came within a single of hitting for a cycle, something that has not been done by a Cub going back to the days of Mark Grace. 10 plate appearances in this series for the former Cincinnati Bearcat. He's been on base 8 of the 10 times. Make it 9 of 11. What is in the water down there on that mound today with walking guys? This is unbelievable. 16 walks in the first game. 16 of them, and already 2 in this game.
And you'd think that game with 16 walks in it would have been a 10-9 ball game and not a 5-4 game.
Well, we brought up earlier, if you weren't with us, when one team goes 1 for 16 with runners in scoring position, that's why the Cubs left 14 runners on base in, 8 innings? Because 3 innings of the game, they left none on base. Addison Russell had a huge error in the doubleheader. That was a leadoff ground ball off the bat of Peraza in the 6th inning of a 2-2 game. Reds wound up scoring twice in that inning. Nothing in 2 on Russell. He comes in batting .263, a home run, 10 batted in. He does have 10 doubles, but he has been slow to get going here so far this year. He did have 4 hits in the game last night, but was hitless in 5 at-bats in game 1 today. Struck him out. Well, that's a nasty slider.
Well, he's got a couple of different breaking pitches. Romano does. He's got a slider and a slower curveball. That when it comes in the high 80s, that's a slider. And what makes that so effective, he stays right on top. So rather than going from side to side, goes straight down.
Notice the Reds wearing their camouflage green caps tonight. This is another military appreciation night, and we certainly salute and say thank you from the bottom of our hearts to those that have served, that are serving, and those that will serve. Still making the United States the greatest country in the world. Jason Hayward now the batter, down a strike, .224 average, and dropped all the way to number 8 in the Chicago batting order. It's been a tough go for Hayward since signing as a free agent. When they brought him in, they were expecting huge things from him, and it just hasn't worked out that way. Atlanta all those years, went to St. Louis and had a very good year, you may remember, in 2015. 16 was just awful with the Cubs. Hit .230, had 7 home runs. Last year hit .259, 11 home runs, only 15 doubles and 59 knocked in. Good defender, but they are paying him a king's ransom for a long, long time. Well, I tell you what, they are paying a lot of attention to a guy over at first who has 2 stolen bases on the whole year.
I think that it really stems from the fact that Romano doesn't see that runner very well over there.
Well, I tell you what, you need a pair of binoculars to check out the amount of room there is between his lead and the first base bag.
Well, if you're a big guy like Romano and you're perfectly square on the mound, meaning that your feet are lined up exactly towards home plate, it's very difficult without turning your upper body to even see the first baseman, much less the guy who's leading off. So that's why we've seen him in San Francisco when he threw a ball basically over the first baseman's head.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are asking at home, and you pitched in the big leagues for a long time. Would that be something you consider changing in the position you're in the stretch?
A lot of different ways you can do it. One, you can keep you open. I mean, you stay open with your feet. He's open with his feet right now, but when he comes to a set position, he squares up. The other thing is that you are allowed to turn your shoulders as long as it's not a quick movement to deceive the runner. That's a serious saw job right there.
Jason Hayward has a contract that has him signed through 2023.
He's got a long swing, and that just doesn't compute when you get an inside fastball.
All right, so now the pitcher, Quintana. 0 for 11 so far this year. No score. We're in the second inning. Fastball up and away is ball one.
You know, as an alternative to trying to change Romano, what you could do is work out a signal system where he doesn't throw to first base until he gets a sign from the catcher.
It's interesting.
A lot of teams do that. And they take it out of the pitcher's hands. I mean, most of the time it's a right-hander. But they just take it away, his responsibility away. Don't worry about it. We'll call when we want you to throw over. We'll have two signs. We'll have an easy throw over, and we'll have a pick 'em off throw over.
But my question to you would be, and you were a left-handed pitcher, so maybe this is unfair. It's not like you're holding guys a lot at third base, right? As an opposite side for you. But the point I'm making is that if you can't see the guy, do you run the risk of all of a sudden making that turn and being able to throw a strike to the first baseman?
Well, it's something you practice.
That's strike three called. Romano has struck out 3. He's walked 2 after an inning and a half for scoreless.
Live mascot races, face painters, and more. Plus, kids 14 and younger will receive a pair of Play Ball wristbands in honor of Play Ball Weekend. For tickets, visit Reds.com.
So that'll be the finale of this series tomorrow. Looking forward to that. We invite you to come on down. Great family Sundays here at Great American Ballpark. Of course, every night here at the ballpark is family night. Lots of them out tonight. Sporting the UC Bearcat t-shirt there. Had Luke Fickle on. Jeff Picoro interviewed him in game 1 tonight. Some big league colors on that team right there, whoever they are. And some of those T-shirts. You got LSU over there, Notre Dame, Fighting Irish. Here we go in the bottom of the second inning. The Eugenio Suarez to lead things off, to be followed by Scooter Gennett and Adam Duvall. Against Jose Quintana, making his 9th start of the year in 41 1/3 innings, has given up 45 hits, 21 walks, and 24 earned runs. But this guy is capable any given time he's handed the ball of just dealing. I mean, we've seen this guy be as dominant and as impressive as any left-hander in Major League Baseball on given nights. And he had a good run at it, as we described earlier, during his days on the south side of Chicago on some really, really bad teams. Fly ball to right. And the White Sox are bad again this year. I mean, they're 11-30. We think the Reds have had a hard time. I mean, the Reds are 16-30.
Well, in what you say, Tom, about Quintana and his stuff and his ability to dazzle on any given night. I mean, Dazzle has had maybe the best game pitched all day long in the major leagues. You know, that's the same thing goes for the guy who's pitching tomorrow night, Yu Darvish. And that's what makes it very, perplexing for people in the Cubs organization and the Cubs fans, because they really thought with the acquisition of Quintana and the signing of Yu Darvish that just completed their rotation.
Sure.
And that they were just going to dominate every day of the week, and it has been far from that so far.
Well, especially for Darvish. I mean, if there is one player in Major League Baseball that at least through nearly the first 2 months of the season, we're not there quite yet, but we're closing in because we started a little earlier than normal, that would be in the running for the most disappointing award, it would be Darvish. 0-3 with an ERA of over 5.5. But a long way to go in this year. On the outside corner, 2-1 to Scooter. Boy, Scooter just keeps on rolling. He had 2 more hits, knocked in 2, put down a sacrifice punt in the first game. Made a great play on defense, turning a double play, took a big hit from Schwarber, trying to break it up. Gamer. So many of these guys in baseball that are coming up now, it's not like the old days. I mean, most of these guys that are coming up now are monsters. And Gennett is not one of those guys. They have him lifted at 5'10", 185. And he lays it out there for you every night. 2-2 pitch. We'll do it again.
He plays like he's 6'8", but he's really only 5'8". I tell you, the kind of intensity that he plays with really is, it's catching among the rest of his teammates. I mean, we've seen him even in blowout games that have been in the going on 3.5 hours, and he is still out there giving every ounce, every game, every inning.
Once more the 2-2 Quintana on Gennett. Spun the breaking ball, and Scooter nearly spun himself into the dirt. That's 5 in a row set down by the Chicago left-hander to start the game. Adam Duvall at 193 has 9 home runs, 24 runs batted in. Umpiring crew here for game 2 has Ben May behind the plate. Sean Barber down at third, Jim Reynolds at second base, and John Tumpain, the umpire, at first. Failed to mention in that 110 start tomorrow, it will be Yu Darvish on the mound for Chicago, and he'll be opposed by Tyler Mahle. Reds will be off Monday. The Pirates come to town Tuesday night. And the guy that starts the first game of that series is the guy that broke Eugenio Suarez's thumb, Jameson Taillon. That'll be Matt Harvey's first start here at Great American Ballpark. Two and two on Duvall. Big day earlier this morning. The Reds dedicating the Bernie Stowe Field at Gilday Riverside Park in the neighborhood of Riverside out on the west side of town. Of course, the Stowe's an institution on that part of town and in this entire city, and especially in this Reds organization. Long-time equipment manager. Went to the elementary school in that area, Holy Family Catholic School. And in 1947 began his 67-year Reds career as a 12-year-old bat boy. The Reds clubhouse is named in his memory. 2-2 pitch. Count is full. Johnny Bench was there, Joe Morgan there, Tom Browning, Ron Oster. Many, many, many others. Marty Brenneman emceed the event. A lot of tears out there today. The entire Stowe family, including his widow Priscilla. Our Shannon Ford was there and had a really nice report on the ceremony earlier today. The smile of Bernie Snow. What an unbelievable guy. Funny, beautiful. That park's beautiful. Hall of Famers. This will be the ninth pitch in this at bat with two down and nobody on. Quintana, a native Colombian. Don't see many of those in the big leagues. And there's ball four. The most successful Colombian, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's right, would have been the longtime shortstop Edgar Renteria. There have been others, but what a career he had.
Interesting, really, for Quintana, who was such an amazing talent once he made the major leagues, that he pitched for two different other organizations in the minor leagues before he ever made the majors. He originally signed with the New York Mets and then played in the minor leagues with the Yankees as well.
A walk in the inning, one left. We played two, and we are scoreless. Brought to you by Miller Lite on this beautiful night in the Queen City. Zip, zip, we begin the third. 2 walks in the game, both walking the first batter of the inning for Sal Romano. They pitched out of a huge jam in that first. And now back to the top of the order. Zobrist was walked and thrown out of the plate in Chicago's first inning. Cubs have already left 3 on base in this game after 14 of them in game 1. Base hit center field. Tell you, he is still one fine player. I mean, he has really been a good player for a long, long time. You know, for the hardcore baseball fans, when he was down there in Tampa Bay, there were people who knew what he was. But when he moved to Kansas City and then started in the postseason when they won it 3 years ago, and then a year later he's playing in the postseason and having the biggest hits arguably the Cubs had in that thrilling 7-game World Series win over the Indians. I'm not going to say he became a household name. There's a hit and run and done to perfection by Stowe. And now the Cubs have him on the corners with nobody out. There's another guy we brought up game 1. I'm convinced if this guy had a chance to play somewhere pretty regularly, I think he could do some major damage on offense.
Well, he really does swing the bat well, and this is a great call by Joe Madden. He's figuring that after a first batter runner again for Sal Romano, he's going to come right out there throwing a strike, probably an inside fastball. And he was probably hoping that Stella would get that ball down on the ground, but it worked just as well, dropping into outfield right there. So for the 3rd inning in a row, Sal's going to have to work out of a jam to keep the 0 on the board.
Well, the Cubs had this scenario in the first inning, 1st and 3rd with these same 2 base runners. And then they got Bryant on a tapper to 3rd. Suarez threw Zobrist out at the plate. A wild pitch put him at 2nd and 3rd. Then he struck out Rizzo and got Contreras on a fly ball to win the inning. Tapper foul wide of 3rd. Brian Butterfield, longtime 3rd base coach in the big leagues, making a play down there. Boy, he's been a good baseball man for a long time.
I played for his father at the University of South Florida. We nicknamed him the Mate. Came down from University of Maine.
Yep.
What a wonderful man he was.
Could be a double play if they hurry. Nope, Bryant runs too well. And the ball gets away from Votto and in. No, it bounces off the front of the camera well. The run scores and the Cubs lead 1-0. Give Bryant the run batted in. Didn't hit it hard enough to double him up. Bryant's a good athlete.
Boy, Reds catch a break right here, not because Bryant is able to get there on the fielder's choice, but just because that ball was just sloppily caught by Votto. And it came within a couple of inches of just bouncing in the camera well.
So here's Rizzo. He struck out his first time up. 1-0 Chicago. Runner goes again. Well, he just chewed up Rizzo. They cut down the lead runner, and Rizzo's safe on a fielder's choice. Wow.
I mean, he's chewing them up so bad that they're not hitting it hard enough to complete a double play. I mean, even when you open up like Rizzo did right there, he kind of stepped a little bit towards the first base bag, tried to get his hips open, get his hands in there. That ball still ate him up.
That's the first time I've ever seen Rizzo not talking to somebody he's standing next to, whether he's playing in the field. Is he talking now?
Yeah.
Not much. I mean, normally it's a lot of smiles and back and forth. Perhaps growing frustration for Rizzo and the tough start of his 2018 season.
Well, if the Cubs had won the first game, he would be down there talking more. Well, I think that there just may be just a slight edge to this ball game based on what happened with Javier Baez and Amir Garrett. I mean, no, not going to be any carryover. There's not going to be any beanball war or anything like that. But it did raise the intensity of the ball game a couple of notches.
No question about it.
You know, I'm watching the Reds dugout, and I'm seeing some signs to Tony Cruz before every pitch, you know, coming from the dugout. So I presume that they've taken over the running game as to when Romano throws to first base or not.
Swing and a miss by Contreras, and that's all. But the Cubs get a couple of hits and score a run after 2.5. Chicago, a 1-0 lead.
Reds tied a club record set in 1902 with 28 hits in a 24-12 win at Colorado. Sean Casey, Jeffrey Hammonds each had 4 hits. 5 others had 3 hits apiece. The Reds also connected for 6 home runs in the game. Now that is getting it done on the offensive side, boys.
All right, here come the Reds pick. Great to have Pick with us here this weekend. Man, he's hustling all over the place today. I feel like every time I turn around, there he is. Either seeing him on television or up here in between games. And, you know, he was out. Talked about the Bernie Stowe event this morning out on the west side of town. Pick was out there along with Shannon and so many, many others. But, I mean, he'd been going at it all day, and everybody here had a really late night last night after the hour-and-a-half rain delay and a 3.5-hour game. Tony Cruz behind 1 ball and 2 strikes. He'll be followed by Romano. And then the top of the order and Jesse Winker due up third in the inning. Real nice crowd here on this Saturday night. This was the original game. The one we played earlier was a makeup from the second series of the year. Second game of a 2-game series rained out. A lot of Cub fans in town for this weekend series and enjoying the sunshine. Well, their weather in Chicago this spring has been beyond brutal. Talked about 6 rainouts already this season. Not all those are at home. Popped up on the right side by Cruz. But even some of the games they played, if any of you saw the video from that series they had last weekend against the White Sox, golly day, did it look mighty rough in Chicago. Only 1 base runner for the Reds through the front 8, and here's a pitcher, Romano. Saw 1 hit in 13 at bats. And that was a double. Indians beat the Astros earlier today down in Houston 5-4. Brewers early on trailing in Minneapolis 2-1. Cardinals lost earlier today to the Philadelphia Phillies after winning the series opener last night. And the Pirates were trailing early on tonight 2-0 in the second inning to San Diego. Padres beat the Pirates last night. And Milwaukee jumping into first place with their victory over the Twins. One and 2 on Romano. Breaking ball swung on and missed. Second strikeout. Speaking of that Phillies-Cardinals game, pick what happened in that game.
Well, in that game, Tom, Odubel Herrera, it's our big story. A 2-run homer. He also had 3 RBI in the win, and they went at 7-6, and Herrera reached base now in 45 straight games. That's the 4th longest streak in Phillies history. So, man, that young man is getting it done. And I think you talked about this yesterday. They've got some great young talent over there in Philadelphia.
Well, I tell you what, you're looking at entire National League East, and I mean between Atlanta and Philadelphia. I mean, those 2 teams are playing great baseball and led primarily by very, very young players. Winker, a ground ball to the left side. And he'll be thrown out in a 1-2-3 third. No score as we go to the 4th at Great American Ballpark. Dylan Floro pitched in 3 games for the Cubs last year, and then they just turned him loose. He gets his first career win, pitched the final 2 innings, allowed 1 hit, 1 intentional walk, no runs, struck out 2. He was asked about it after the game, and he said, I can't even catch my breath. I'm just so excited. Good for him. Cubs lead 1-0. That little girl's trying to talk mom and dad into a little cotton candy right about now. And that one lined hard into right field. What a show Ian Happ is putting on. 12 plate appearances. He's been on base 10 times. And he is homered in both ends of a doubleheader. And that is the 14,000th home run in the history of the Chicago Cubs franchise. Ian Happ. He hit 1399 and 14,000.
Well, he struggled a little bit earlier in the year, and there were a lot of people in Chicago calling for Albert Almora Jr. to play in his place. But after the weekend he's having here, I mean, he was on fire in that first game. He had 3 hits and 4 at-bats, scored a couple of runs, and lasered that ball out of here in no time.
It's really interesting. You saw the 2 other franchises, the Cubs now being the 3rd, that have hit 14,000 home runs, they being the Yankees and the Giants. I am very surprised the Reds and Cardinals have not joined that club. Reds are in the 13,000s. With all the big sluggers they've had. And there's a ground ball to the right side. Jeanette will throw out Russell for the first out here in the 4th inning.
What is that, going back to 1900? Is that just going back
just
to the
a history of the
it?
franchise, yeah. And
you
the Reds,
know, back in those days when the Red Stockings were winning 52-0, they weren't getting any home runs?
well, apparently not enough.
Or they weren't part of this franchise. They were part of another franchise. But we consider them all our Cincinnati Reds.
Yes, maybe that's the reason why.
Well, maybe we ought to just rewrite that record book now.
We should. But don't get math involved. And if that's where you're going, I will gladly just turn the ball and hand it off to you. Do you consider math a forte of yours?
Negative, I do not.
As Dirty Harry once said.
Do you feel lucky?
That would be one line. His other one was, a man's got to know his limitations.
Yes.
And Lord knows for many of us, they're hard to remember. The list is so long to remember them all. Two and one to Hayward.
Boy, Hayward just looks so frustrated up there. He's even moved off the plate a little bit more this at bat than he did the first time up, and he just got a ball right on his thumbs the first time up. Opened his stance just a little bit more. They're going to come right back in there again.
That's at Bob Evans field they have out there. Wiffle ball. Then they have the real batting cages just to the right that drop down along Joe Nuxall way there. That is really a cool area over there for little guys and the big guys. It's over on the first base side if you ever come to the ballpark. On the main concourse. And then when you and your buddies get a little bit older, you stay on that concourse, but you walk a little bit further down the right field line. Pull to the right side. And that'll be out number 2. I tell you, look at that brand new Budweiser bar out there. I mean, that is a good looking spot, man. You're looking right down along the river. That is a big league joint.
Now, do you need a special ticket to get into there?
I don't think so. Now, maybe to sit in those seats, obviously,
Yeah.
that go down.
That's a good spot. You're right.
Why haven't we been there?
I'll see you out there in the 7th.
Oh, why haven't we been there? I mean, are you kidding me? We've been everywhere else.
Markle wed her prince and wearing a 16.5-foot veil. But wait, that veil had nothing on the one the Reds grounds crew rocked earlier today. They took to Twitter just to see who wore it best. Take a look. Guys, and cast your votes. Back up to you.
You're right. Cast your votes for those guys for sure. All the hustling they've been doing all year long and all this crazy weather we've had in Cincinnati. You guys are getting after it. The royal wedding. Did you get up for that this morning?
My alarm didn't work.
I understand there were parties being thrown in different places for this thing this morning, and I'm thinking to myself, that was like 6:37 in the morning, right?
Well, I would imagine that you'll be able to catch it back on tape somewhere. You get on the internet, you'll find.
I got to do that right when I get home.
You could probably watch it in its entirety in case you just didn't want to.
I think that would be
highlights.
That thing would be good as soon as we get back home after a double header here.
Well, you know me, if it's not on Fox Sports Ohio, I probably haven't seen it.
Actually, I think that's why Marty Brenneman and Jeff Brantley were off this weekend. I think they took their wives over to the royal wedding. Had a special invitation from the Queen. How do you think that a dinner conversation, based on the dinners we have with my dad, how do you think the dinner conversation would go? Prince Charles is there, and the Queen is there, and then the cowboy and Ashley and Amanda and my dad are there. How do you think that goes?
That would be probably one of the more interesting dinners that you could ever imagine. I would probably start out with, Queen, let me ask you a question.
How we looking?
And it would go downhill from there.
I think you are being quite gentle in your description of how that conversation might begin. But there we go, Chris. That's what we were just talking about out there.
Bow tie bar.
I mean, that place is sweet. Look at that. And right off to the right over there, obviously, is a river. I'm getting married. Congratulations. Maybe. No, I'm gonna. She's getting married. Good for her. She's probably spending a bachelorette party out here. Here's Joey Votto. Cubs lead 2-0. Hello, ladies and gents. Fouled away by Votto. 2 balls and a strike. Padres now lead the Pirates in the 5th inning 3-0. Dodgers beat the Nationals in game 1 of a doubleheader 4-1. They got rained out last night, and the Dodgers just scored in the 1st inning in game 2. Dodgers reeling here of late. 2-1 to Votto. Reds still in search of their first base hit against Quintana. Now beginning the 2nd time through the batting order against him. Pull to the right side. Going to have to wait on Rizzo to get to the bag, which he does. 2 away. 2 ground ball outs to the second baseman for Votto. If a Red hits a home run off that Toyota sign in right center tonight, Sean Hambrick from Cincinnati wins the Tundra. Thanks to your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Ball and 1 strike on Suarez. He flied out to short right his first time up. That paints the inside corner. Fastball at 92. Slow breaking ball fooled him, and that's a 3rd strikeout for Quintana, who's thrown 4 hitless shutout innings. Cubs have given him a 2-0 lead.
Together and by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. Hey, watch every out-of-market regular season game live at home, in the office, or on the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB at That Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Tom, Chris?
We got a beautiful shot there along the river looking up into Mount Adams and Eden Park. Then panning across the mighty Ohio. Top of the 5th inning. 2 runs, 4 hits for Chicago. No runs, no hits for the Reds. Zobrist to lead off an inning for the 3rd time, and he's their leadoff man. He walked in the first, thrown out at home on a play made by Suarez, and he singled and scored in the 3rd. Leadoff man's been a problem here tonight. Each of the 4 innings, the Cub leadoff batter has reached walk, walk, single, homer. Two balls and a strike on Zobrist. And now 3-1. That's 5 innings now in a row.
There are a lot of pitching coaches out there right now watching this ball game thinking, oh boy, will we see the 80% rule come into effect? I just remember just about every pitching coach I ever had said 80% of those leadoff walks come around to score, so just stop it.
Remember, they played hit and run with this combination the last time.
They did it on the first pitch too, and I don't know if Joe Maddon is the kind of put it on one more time or not. They're really bunching the defense up the middle against Tommy La Stella. Third baseman Suarez is way off the bag.
One ball, one strike.
Zobrist puts one of those oven mitts on his hand because he's a head-first sliding runner. I thought it was actually a wrist guard. That won't protect his fingers if he goes into a bag, but it may protect his wrist. I think those oven mitts maybe should have some kind of special regulation go along with them, because it does extend your hand a little bit.
One and two to count on La Stella, 2 for 2 in the game, and they'll get him out this time. One out. Smale Park. What a job they have done along the riverfront in this town. It is just so beautiful, and especially this time of year, so green. Everything in full bloom, lots to do. Here's Bryant, 0 for 2. Fielder's choice run batted in the third. It's 24 batted in now for Chris Bryant. You know, it's interesting, our statistician Joel Luckup reminded us in between innings a little while ago, and Jeff Pecoro reported on that Phillies win over St. Louis and all the young players the Phillies had. We made reference to the Atlanta Braves. You know, if you just look at number of hits of players 27 and younger, the Phillies have the most hits of those players. Guess who's second most? You're looking at them. The Cubs. And they've played in 3 straight National League Championship Series. Talked about their youth, especially in the infield last night. Rizzo, Baez, the normal second baseman, Russell and Bryant, Happ, so young. Their catcher Contreras is quite young. And really the only age they have to speak of at all on this team is Zobrist, and that's it. That's a scary part for everybody in the National League Central and the National League. They spend all their money because right now they don't have to spend it on the young players. We talked about this a little bit last night. They have poured a pile of money into that veteran pitching staff through the years when they've had Arrieta and they've had Lackey and they've had Lester. Now they bring in Darvish. Trade for Quintana, still pretty young. Runner goes, fouled out of play.
Well, with the
but
Cubs,
the day will come soon when they've got to start deciding. Excuse me, Chris.
Sorry. Well, what the Cubs have done, you know, really since Theo Epstein got there, was begin to acquire their highest draft picks as everyday players. Guys like Bryant, for instance. They acquired Addison Russell, but that's the type of player that they've been trying to get. Javier Baez, that type player. So what they've done now is, and now that they've got a really nice core of players, the last 2 years they've been very heavy on pitching.
Runner goes, and it's ball 4.
Oh. In fact, in 2016 they drafted 27 pitchers, and they drafted 25 last year. So this year, from what I read anyway, is that the Cubs are going to go back the other way, the pendulum going the other way now, that they're going to really start going heavily into the draft this year, getting position players again. Because what they figured out here in Chicago, it's a lot more difficult and more expensive to try to go out and trade for an everyday third baseman who's an all-star every year, like Bryant, for instance, as opposed to going out and finding a pitcher like Quintana or signing Yu Darvish, because they've got the money to do things like that.
Well, you wonder what gives with Romano out there tonight. That is 4 walks, 2 of them in this inning. And now he's in trouble again. Been trouble in every inning. Cubs leading 2-0. We're in the 5th. Fair ball into the corner off the bat of Rizzo. Zobrist will score. LaStella will score. 2-run double by Rizzo, and the Cubs lead 4-0.
There's just so many times that you can go back to the same well. And that's what Romano tries to do right here with Rizzo. He struck him out the first time, got him on a ground ball fielder's choice the next time, all by pitching him inside. Trying to come in there again, but this time, if you just miss by an inch or two, and Rizzo's able to open up that hip and get that bat head through, he's able to keep it fair and drives in a couple. I mean, it's just part of, learning how to pitch if you're Sal Romano. I mean, this is really his first time through the major leagues, and there's a lot to like about Romano, but he's got a lot to learn.
Well, look, you give up a double, you give up a double to Rizzo, but when you're walking guys in front of him.
What I like to see Sal do, though, is get to a point with his pitching strategy that he has a safe zone that he can go to. And it seems like he's much more comfortable pitching on that first base side of home plate than he is on the third base side of home plate, which should be an easier spot for him to hit, down and away. Changing speeds a little bit with a two-seamer that kind of can get a hitter like Rizzo to roll over on one.
Still only 1 out in the inning, and Romano faces now Wilson Contreras, who's 0 for 2. Strike 1. Contreras has flied to short left and struck out. 4-0 Cubs here in the top of the 5th. They've scored each of the last 3 innings. Shackelford brought up as an additional player, which you're allowed to do, a pitcher, when you play a doubleheader. He did not pitch in the first game. They had a chance in between games to meet Austin Bryce's mom and dad. They live about 15 miles south of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. That's where the University of North Carolina is, and you have 3 major universities. They call it the Triangle down there, with Duke and NC State and the cities Raleigh and Durham. But even though they're only 15 miles south, his mom and dad were saying, you want to talk about growing up in the country. Austin Bryce is as country as they get, and they were the nicest people you'd ever want to meet.
Yeah.
Real pleasure to talk to him. And he's a nice kid. Really nice kid. 5 strikeouts in the game now for Romano. They'll intentionally walk out, and you can understand why. So what is that? 11 out of 13 times now he's been on base in this series. It's the 7th intentional walk by the Reds pitchers in this series, and that matches the most for a single series for the Reds since May of 1990 against the Cubs.
You're a pace of play guy, Tom. Maybe we ought to put some math to that and figure out how much the intentional walk rule has saved us in time in this series.
It would be breathtaking.
I don't
Considering
know if
we played 345 last night and played 11 innings today.
I don't know if I have the time to wait for you to figure out that math problem.
I'm not sure I'm going to live that long. I'm leaning heavy on the end of the week. Here's a 1-0 and a strike in there. to Addison Russell. 0 for 2. Russell was struck out and grounded out to Scooter Gennett. Lee Quintana's throwing the ball. Can't allow much more than where they are right now. 4 runs. So this is a big out for Romano. Talked about last night how streaky this Cubs team has been just in the last few weeks. They win 5, they lose 5, they win 5. Now they've lost 4 out of 6. This will be the 90th pitch of this game by Romano. He's already walked 5, only 1 intentionally, and he's behind Russell 3-1. This might be his final batter either way. We'll see. 3-2. When you're third and the fourth, when he sailed through on 24, you're thinking, okay, maybe getting it together here. And then again, he walks 2 batters here in this 5th inning. Both come around to score on the double by Rizzo. And now 3-2. Runners get started with 2 outs. Addison Russell waits. That's got to be it. That's 6 walks in the game. I mean, Jim Riggleman's wrestling down there. He's going to leave him in. He started to lift his foot off of that top step, and
well, he's handled Jason Hayward. He's coming to the plate right now, left-handed, and he's handled him really well tonight. Pop-up saw job to the first baseman. Little ground ball to Votto the last time up. But this could be the make-or-break moment here in this ball game if Hayward can come up with a good hit.
This matches a career high in walks for Romano, 6 of them.
I really don't think they ought to include the intentional walk in the total.
It's only 1. It's only 1 of the 6.
Right.
Nothing in 1 on Hayward.
I mean, this is the kind of night when you're pitching that every time you turn around, you got a runner in scoring position. And it just wears you out mentally. I mean, the pitch counts don't mean a thing right now. It's the stress of being out there looking at second base before you go to the plate.
1-1 to Hayward. Jam shot, pop up. Scooter trying to get there. Oh! And off of his glove down the right field line. 3 runs are going to score. They're going to wave around Hayward. And now he'll slam on the brakes. What an incredible effort by Scooter Gennett. Just an unbelievable effort. And just a fraction of an inch short. That'll be schooled a triple and 3 RBIs for Hayward.
Well, Hayward gets jammed again right here, and look how far Gennett has to go to be able to get that. I do not think that Winker has that ball if Gennett doesn't get out there. So it's not like Gennett got in his way, even though they crossed paths at the very end of that play.
Well, Winker, his first 2 steps were back.
Yeah.
On contact. And he was about 2 steps short of being able to get to that ball. That makes it 7-0, and now the pitcher, the 9th man to bat in the inning. Man, oh man, is Scooter Gennett. We were talking about him earlier. This guy. Play on your team, my team, any day of the week. All day, every day. Wonder if he had the wind knocked out of him down there or something. He's still trying to sort of get it together. I mean, he just laid all out trying to make that diving play. I mean, that wasn't even in medium right field.
No.
That was in right field.
Yeah.
Nine men bat, 5 of them score. Romano walks 4 batters in the inning, and all 4 of them come in. What an effort by Scooter. Wow.
Limited quantities of this collectible bobblehead are available. Purchase today at reds.com/themes. That's some cool stuff they got there from the Marvel ticket package. And good news, guys. Anthony DeSclafani pitches tonight for Pensacola. 5 innings. He does give up 5 hits, 3 runs. 2 of those were earned. 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. He threw 76 pitches. He started off the 6th inning with back-to-back doubles and left the game. When he left, he'd only given up 1 earned run. But all in all, 76 pitches and 8 strikeouts. Maybe 1 more start. It's going to be a big decision for the Reds. And then what do they do with the pitching staff here when DeSclafani comes back? Question and questions, guys.
Very well put, Jeffrey. Decisions that obviously Dick Williams, president of baseball operations, Nick Kroll, the new general manager, along with input from the manager, Jim Riggleman, and the coaching staff. Scooter Gennett pops up the first pitch here in the Reds' 5th and unable to get there, Contreras. I wouldn't be surprised to see, well, you got Suarez as a problem right now, still nursing this injured ankle. I was getting ready to say, maybe another inning or 2, I would not be surprised to see Gennett removed from this game. I mean, his body's taking a beating in this doubleheader today. Way out in front of a breaking ball, pops it up into right. 1 out. Cubs lead 7-0. 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, and then 4 walks issued, 1 intentional by Romano in the 5th, and all 4 come home along with 1 more to score.
Hey, Tom, I'd like to remind you and a lot of people out there about something they may be interested in. There's a baseball injury prevention seminar coming up, put on by Beacon Orthopedics, our good friends up there with Dr. Kremchek and so on. It's May the 29th at 5:30 p.m. $10, and all the proceeds go to the Reds Youth Academy. And have a lot of different speakers there. Bronson Royal will be there to speak. Andrew Rosano, who's an orthopedic surgeon. and the assistant medical director for the Reds, Dr. Vasquez, Angel Vasquez.
Yes, the best, the best. Love him.
Very good guy. Nick Rolfs is involved in putting the whole thing on, and Aaron Lowe, who's a PT and a baseball specialist. PT is physical therapist, and it ought to be a great evening. That's May the 29th, 5:30 p.m. At Beacon Orthopedics at the Summit Woods facility.
That's right around the Blue Ash area up there.
Sure is.
Beautiful facility.
So if you just look up Beacon Orthopedics in Summit Woods, you'll find it, and you'll be able to get a lot of information about injury prevention.
Is that baseball specific only?
I don't know if it's, yes, it is. It is absolutely baseball specific. So if you got somebody on your team that's complaining about a sore arm or something like that, or maybe what you'd like to know is something about maybe pitch counts and how much rest a young man needs between starts and number of pitches and so on. Looks like this time through the order that Jose Quintana is breaking out that slow breaking ball a lot more. First couple of times it was mainly the fastball.
Well, the Reds do not have a hit through 4 1/3 innings here tonight. And there's that slow breaking ball again from Quintana. Full count on Duvall. He's the only Red to reach base in this game. Quintana walked him in the second inning. We're talking about players who come from Quintana's homeland of Colombia. We mentioned Edgar Renteria. And another was an outstanding player on that 2010 Reds team, another shortstop who had a great major league career. One of my favorite players to ever play for the Reds, even though he wasn't here very long, was Orlando Cabrera.
Yeah, good guy.
Really good guy. Go figure, Quintana walking Adam Duvall twice in this game.
Well, he's had a lot of walks coming into the ball game. I mean, he's averaged over 4 walks per 9 innings, so I don't think he's shying away from Duvall.
Here's Schebler. He got him on a weak pop up to center field his first time up. Seven runs, 6 hits for Chicago. No runs, no hits for the Reds. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. At top of the 5th. A long, painful night. There's the first Cincinnati hit of the game. On a single to right by Schebler. For whatever reason, the 5th inning has been a hiccup for Quintana this year. 10 of the 24 runs he had allowed in his 8 starts have come in the 5th inning. Reds trying to add to that total here. Tony Cruz about it. And Alex Plandino has already moved into the on-deck circle. That's a pitcher spot next. And won the count on Cruz. Had a good rip at that pitch, fouled it back over the screen and out of play. Fellas out enjoying the ball game tonight. Future's so bright I gotta wear shades even in the PM.
What song does that belong to?
It's like that bald dude down there in the left field line. Made a Gold Glove play last night. Been here the last few years. 0-2 on Cruz. Ground ball down to third. Bryant to the bag. And a double play picked out of there by Rizzo on the other end.
We stand ready to serve all military families.
Well, we invite you to follow each and every Reds game here on Fox Sports Ohio. Then stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down after the game. Kevin Shackelford was added per the rules of Major League Baseball these days when you play a doubleheader as a 26th player on the roster. He did not pitch in the first game of the Twin Bill, and he comes in right now. Not a pretty stat line tonight for Sal Romano. 5 innings, 6 hits, 7 runs earned. He walked 6 batters, 1 intentionally, and struck out 6 batters. When you have that many walks and that many strikeouts, it's no wonder that in 5 innings Romano was at 100 pitches in the game.
Yeah, you go back to the drawing board. There are a couple of outings in a row now that have been tough for Sal, and you know it makes for a long 4 or 5 days now that the Reds have an off day on Monday before you get that ball again. So, you know, a few things to work on.
I don't know the last time I've seen this in a game, and I know I've never seen it happen in the first 6 innings of a game, where the leadoff batter in the batting order leads off 4 times in the first 6 innings. But that is a story for Zobrist. Naturally led off the first, led off the third, led off the 5th. He has reached base each of those times. In fact, the Cubs had the leadoff man reach base in each of the 5 innings against Romano tonight. He will not reach this time. 1 out. Nice start for Shackelford. I know you really talked about Shackelford a lot in spring training, Chris. I remember you being so impressed with his makeup and his stuff and the kind of pitcher he has a chance to be. Why do you like him so much?
Well, unfortunately, Tom, he was injured coming out of spring training. But a guy that has a good fastball and a nice slider that, you know, he's one of these guys. He's going to be kind of back and forth and up and down until he's able to displace somebody else up here.
Two away. Well, go ahead. I'm just curious. Well, real quick, a message from Miami Valley Gaming.
ready to get lucky.
Good hard fastball, natural cut on the fastball, and a good slider. I mean, really, to be a reliever, I mean, you've got to concentrate on 2 solid pitches, and Shackelford has that.
Well, he's trying to send the Cubs through a 1-2-3 6th inning. Bryant 0 for 2, got an RBI on a fielder's choice ground out in the 3rd inning, walked and scored in the 5th. (3-0).
You know, there's a lot of guys like Shackelford who get drafted late, 21st round pick, came out of Marshall University, and they get lost in the minor league shuffle. Yeah, but he stuck with it and followed his dream, and finally it was last year at age 29, his majors, or 28 last year, he made his major league debut. And that's really the kind of thing that you like about guys that just kind of persevere when everybody else tells you, go ahead and give it up. You're not going to make it. You don't throw hard enough. There's not enough movement on your fastball, whatever it may be.
That's why I love the whole Corky Miller story, and I think that's why he's so unbelievably popular. And you know, the fortunate thing for Corky is that he stayed in one organization for so long, left for a little while, then came back. That being the Reds organization, where he became, you know, an institution down there in Louisville. Now look, he didn't want to be in Louisville. It's nothing against Louisville, but stayed with it for a long time. Duvall staying with that pop-up by Rizzo, and that'll end the inning. Scoreless inning. Nice job by Shackelford. That's exactly what you were talking about from this young man.
The 10th, presented by Homemade Brand Ice Cream. Don't miss a weekend full of Reds baseball, a fireworks show, Scooter Jeanette bobblehead, and family fun. For tickets to see your Reds and Cardinals for as low as $12, visit Reds.com.
All right, Pick. There you go. Look at the concourse. Boy, they're jumping tonight. They have so many great areas to get something to eat and drink, and areas to hang out in. And Shackelford in his career is 1 for 3 as a batter. He's coming up there hacking against Jose Quintana. Reds down 7-0. They bat here in the 6th. You ever been in a helicopter? There's a helicopter flying right above the ballpark.
I have.
Have you?
I was in one helicopter.
How was it?
It was great. We had the doors off, which made it even more fun.
Pretty cool.
Now that looks like somebody's mode of transportation there.
Well, that's a big leaguer.
Well, yeah. Got a keen eye.
Down the right field line. I tell you, I was born at last night. At night, not last night. We tell Jesse Jackson all the time. Shackelford out of there swinging. That's 4 strikeouts in the game for Quintana. 1 out here in the 6th. Keep up with the Reds on Fox Sports Ohio Instagram. Check out highlights, player reactions, game insights. Follow Fox Sports OH on Instagram. Jesse Winker 0 for 2, a ground ball to second, a ground ball to short. Winker trying to snap out of what is now becoming an extended slump offensively after a really good start. Got his first hit in 4 games. That was an infield hit that really was a misplay by the Chicago defense. That's when the pitcher caught the ball and his foot missed the bag, but they didn't give him an error and shouldn't have given him an error. But that's the only hit Winker has had in 5 games. And it even goes back a little bit further than that.
Well, the one thing you notice, actually 2 things. Number 1 is that the pitching that he is facing recently is just pounding him inside. And number 2, the deeper you get into a slump, the tendency is the more you press and the less pitches you take, the more pitches outside of the zone or marginal pitches you start to chase, and you become an easier out. I mean, it happens to everybody.
Two and two on Winker with 1 away. And that's strike 3 called, and Jesse knew it. Back-to-back punch-outs for Quintana, who's only allowed 1 hit tonight. It's been very good.
He's been an all-star one time. It was a couple of years ago before he was traded over from the White Sox to the Cubs. As I mentioned, Quintana originally signed with the Mets. He played 1 year in their very low minor league rung and then tested positive and violated baseball's drug policy. So the Mets released him, and that's when he was picked up by the New York Yankees. Yankees had him for a while, and they eventually released him, and he signed as a non-roster invitee to camp with the Chicago White Sox. And that turned out to be one heck of a find. He went down the minor leagues a little bit. The first time he was with the White Sox was 2012. He went right to Double-A. They called him up. He pitched well. He went back to Double-A again. But he ended up 6-6 that year in the big league team. Only 1 year removed from being an A-ball with the Yankees. And after that, he became a 200-inning-a-year pitcher.
And he has just struck out the side in the 6th inning. Off to the 7th. All Chicago here in game 2.
transmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern on FS1. Wilson Contreras against Shackelford to begin the Cubs' 7th inning. Cubs with single runs in the 3rd and 4th for a 2-0 lead, then exploded for 5 in the 5th. And a 7-0 advantage. Contreras, an swing down a strike. He's 0 for 3. Fly ball to left and a couple of strikeouts. All those at bats against Sal Romano, the Red starter. You know, when you play this Cub team, and obviously they've been very streaky. We've documented that already in this season preview and the season series preview. But my, oh my, when you just look at the talent that Joe Maddon has been given from the organization, whether it be drafting their own players or the trades they've made. I mean, for those of you that weren't with us in the first game, you know, late in the game they had Wilson Contreras, an all-star. They had Ben Zobrist, multi-all-star. And they had Jason Hayward, multi-all-star at times in his career, all on their bench. And it seems like everybody who comes up in their batting order, every single player, is a player that is more than capable of doing major damage when they come up there in some form or fashion. Not meaning they all hit home runs, although a pile of them do. Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras, Happ, Russell, Hayward, Baez, all those guys hit the ball in the seats. And a lot of them are also very good average hitters. Now, Hayward's not had a good run at it since coming to Chicago, but I mean, believe me, there are a lot of managers that don't like the thought of Hayward coming up there against a right-hander in a crucial situation with the game on the line. In other words, there just aren't a lot of outs when you play this Cub team. And they're not setting the world on fire. That loss in game 1 puts them at just 4 games over the 500 mark. So by no means are we talking about a perfect team. But gosh, you'd take your chances with this roster.
Well, I think that's why the expectations are where they are, because people take a look at the roster and say, hey, Joe Maddon, I mean, this is a team that not only should win, I mean, they should win by a lot.
You know, it depends on who you talk to, you know, to really get a read on this team last year. They sort of, you know, they did a lot of sleepwalking during the regular season last year. I mean, they were still good enough to win the division and hold off Milwaukee because they're that talented. But, you know, they stunned the Nationals, and we've talked about that already. Easily could have lost that opening round to Washington, another talented team that is extraordinarily never won a playoff series since moving to Washington, especially these last handful of years with the rosters they've had. But the Cubs were just, they were obliterated during the LCS. A lot of people felt like, you know, a lot of their guys were hurt and they weren't nearly at 100%. Hendricks wasn't the same guy he was a year before. Lester had gone on the disabled list late in the season. Arrieta came on strong at the end. He was their best pitcher near the end of the season. This has been the most impressive Cub in this series by far, and that's Ian Happ. He was on base 4 times last night. 4 times, including a double, a triple, a home run, 3 scored in the first game of the doubleheader, and he's been on base all 3 times, including a home run tonight. And they finally get him out in this game.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of high cheese right there.
Now Shackelford will face Addison Russell. 0 for 2 has walked and scored. Line drive to left field, a base hit. On to second goes Contreras. 2 on with 1 out here in the Chicago 7th. Hayward has seemingly been around forever. He came up so young with Atlanta and hit free agency as a very young man. I mean, he's 2 years away from his 30th birthday. It's one of the reasons the Cubs gave him that long-term deal, coming off a really good year with St. Louis. I mean, it wasn't a great year. Straight up in the air down the right field line and playable for Winker, or is it? No. That went down there and made that play for his little girl. Very nice. One ball and 2 strikes now on Hayward. 2 on, 1 out. Long series of signs given by Barnhart with a runner out there, Contreras leading at second base. Be a wild pitch on Shackelford with both runners advancing.
I was wondering what it hit, and that slow motion shows you right there. That ball was so wildly thrown, it went off the umpire's shin guard. Bounce into the camera well. Runners move up. Tony Cruz had no chance of that one.
Straight away center field will bring in another run. Throw will go to third, and that makes it 8-0 Chicago. So the wild pitch comes back to bite Shackelford, and again it was a leadoff walk. So what Reds pitching tonight has walked 6, 7, 8. And of the 8 they've walked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 8 have come around to score. A 4 RBI night for Hayward, who had 14 RBIs all season long. And here's Jose Quintana with 2 away. Brewers have battled back to tie Minnesota. Milwaukee was trailing in that game 4-2, now 4-4, last of the 6th inning in Minneapolis. But a big homecoming for that man right there, Ian Happ. Monster. 3 games with 1 more to go tomorrow. And you know he'll be in that lineup tomorrow the way he's going right now against a right-hander Malley. Although Joe Madden will keep you guessing. One ball and 2 strikes on the pitcher Quintana.
Quintana hanging in there.
This guy's 0 for 14. And now a 2-2 from Shackelford. So you don't see a lot of pitchers do what Quintana's doing in this at bat for a guy who doesn't have a hit all year long. I don't know if he chokes up regularly. But I mean, he looked like he knew what he was doing during that at bat.
He doesn't know where first base is, but he can hit.
Well, he's working on a 1-hit shutout. together. You know, we talked about this in the first game. When the season started, everybody thought the Cubs' starting pitching was going to be the forte and the bullpen would be a question. Well, the first 3 weeks, the starters were not good. But now all of a sudden, Chris, you know, the talent, as they say, cream rising to the top.
Well, if they can try to get
2.74 ERA.
Yeah, I mean, Quintana coming around. They're hoping that Yu Darvish, now that he's off the disabled list, comes around a little bit. He has been really good tonight, Quintana has. That curveball has been excellent. You know, the more I see him pitch, the more he reminds me a little bit of Gio Gonzalez of the Washington Nationals. Has a very quick arm. You know, Gonzalez has a bigger breaking ball and throws it more often, but, you know, they both throw in the same speed range. You know, not overpowering like at 95 or 97 miles an hour, but they make 90 look like it's really quick with a very quick arm. Interesting, though, about the Cubs starting rotation. You know, as good as they are, at least on paper, they are second worst in the league in the number of innings pitched as starters. I mean, only the New York Mets, and they've been besieged by tons of injuries there, have had fewer innings pitched by starters than Joe Madden. If you're wondering the top teams in the league in those categories, it would be the Nationals, Rockies, and Diamondbacks. Reds are down in the area where the Cubs are.
Fly ball into left field.
Boy, Joey Votto having a rough series so far. That's 1 for 8 in this series.
And there's a walk to Suarez. 3 walks in the game given up by Quintana. First 2 were to Adam Duvall. Scooter Gennett settling in, or is he? Apparently not. Cubs with an 8-0 lead. Reds batting here in the bottom of the 7th. A 1-out walk given up to Suarez. And ball 1 to Scooter. Scooter 0 for 2 in the game tonight. Reds only have 1 hit. That was a single by Scott Schebler. A single into right field back in the 5th inning. Reds were limited to just 2 hits in the game here last night. Started by John Lester, won by John Lester, and suffering the loss for the Reds in that series opener was Homer Bailey. Reds won the first game of the doubleheader. Floro getting his first major league win, a real nice story after pitching in 3 games for the Cubs last season. We get a guy that's just cruising along here tonight, and all of a sudden he walks a batter, falls behind the next batter, 2-0. And now the Cubs are on the horn down to their bullpen. Quintana pitched beautifully for the Cubs in the division series last year against Washington. Really pitched well. And it did not go nearly as well. Not for him nor the Cubs in the LCS. A 5-game loss to the National League champion Dodgers. Two and 2 on Jeanette. Mike Montgomery getting loose in the bullpen. And that's strike 3 called on Scooter. He doesn't like it a little bit. 7 strikeouts in the game now for Quintana.
Wilson Contreras liked that pitch. He was kind of nodding as soon as he caught it, held it right there, didn't have to frame it for the home plate umpire.
Here's Duvall. He's walked twice in the game. Boy, go figure. He just cannot throw a strike to Duvall tonight. And look, we know the struggles Adams going through this year. We've interviewed him after the games. He was a big hero, a couple of days ago, but batting in the 190s coming into the game. And in fact, he has the lowest batting average outside of Cruz of anybody in the Reds lineup tonight. And Quintana just cannot throw the ball over the plate to him, or hasn't so far. Still has it. 3-0. I mean, it's almost like he was never trying to throw him a strike in these 3. Obviously, that's not the case. But if you just sat up here and didn't know the score and didn't know the situation, didn't know what the guy was batting, you would swear that he wanted nothing to do with Duvall all night long.
Kind of weird, isn't it?
Really weird.
Yeah, Jim Hickey probably has that same question. He's the pitching coach out there to talk to Quintana right now. He was a longtime pitching coach for Joe Madden when Madden was managing down in Tampa. And when the opportunity presented itself, the Cubs let their longtime pitching coach Chris Bosio go.
Hickey got his first big break in Houston with Phil Garner. That was back when the Astros were playing those couple of years in the league championship series against the Cardinals, eventually making it to the World Series, losing to the White Sox. Hickey was a really young man.
Seems like the last couple of years the pitching coach have been recycled and traded around a little bit, almost like managers used to be. Now teams have gone outside really outside the box to get new managers who've never managed before. Pulling guys out of broadcast booth like Aaron Boone, for instance. Making pitching coaches into managers like they did Mickey Callaway in New York for the Mets.
2 walks in the inning now for Quintana. And Schebler first pitch swinging, a tapper down to first, and that'll end the inning. That's the second time in 3 at-bats Schebler's done that, just giving away the out on the first pitch of the at-bat. He had a hit the time before. Him. Rosel Herrera takes over out in left field. Still Shackelford on the mound, beginning his 3rd inning in relief of Sal Romano. Shackelford's given up 1 run, walked 2, struck out a batter, giving up a hit. Eight runs, 7 hits, 7 left for Chicago. No runs, 1 hit, 4 stranded for the Reds. Top of the order, and here it is for the 5th time in this game.
That's amazing.
It really is amazing. It's going to be interesting to find out when the last time that happened. Joe Luckup's on it right now, but Ben Zobrist, who bats first in their batting order. Here we are in the 8th inning, and each of his 5 plate appearances has led off an inning. Who wants this one?
4 out of 5 times now he's been on base to lead the inning off.
There's only been 1 inning in this game out of the 8 where the Cubs did not have the leadoff man reach, and that was Shackelford's first inning in the 6th.
Perfectly chipped. You know, what do they say, Tom? At the end of the year, that the leadoff man, the guy that bats, if you had a leadoff man that batted #1 all year long, he'd have about, what, 30 to 35 more plate appearances than the #2 guy. I think the way it all works out over a 162 game schedule.
Reds pitching has only had, to give you an idea about the way this Cub team just keeps coming at you, 11 8. So here we're working on 19 innings of offensive baseball for the Chicago Cubs. And Reds pitching has had 1-2-3 inning.
Wow.
No, I beg your pardon, 2. They came in Wandy Peralta in the 9th, and then Floro in the 10th inning. And there wasn't a single 1-2-3 inning last night. Here's another one. Are you kidding me? And on to third goes Zobrist. La Stella's had 2 of those tonight. That's living right, I reckon. Shackelford's like, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, exactly. The unfair part of baseball, you make a good pitch and get a bad result.
I mean, but you think about that. We played 9 innings last night, 11 innings in the first game, and here we are in the 8th inning tonight. The Cubs have only gone in order twice. Here's Bryant. Austin Bryce beginning to throw in the bullpen. Saw Austin warming up in game 1. He never came into the game. He did pitch 1 inning here last night. One and 2 on Bryant. It's the 3rd time it's happened in Major League Baseball this year where a hitter has led off an inning 5 times in the first 9 innings of a game. So rare, but not over the top. Adam Frazier did it on the 12th of this year. Brandon Nimmo of the Mets on the 16th. It's the first time it's happened in May.
Got to give Joel a little love for that now.
Well, he gets a lot of it up here. Not much from you, but from the rest of us, pretty good.
I never get a note.
Well, he gave you that one earlier. You didn't touch it, So I think he's kind of like, well, what do you want me to do?
I'd already made my point. Who needs backup?
We'll remind Joel of that. 2-2 to count on Bryant. Well, I mean to tell you that this has come to a grinding halt. Shackelford on the mound. 2-2 delivery is on the way. And there's ball 3. Jim Riggleman's just about ready, it appears, to make the change. Got him swinging for the first out of the inning. Rizzo had a big 2-run double in that 5th inning. It's his only hit in 4 at-bats tonight. Bryant 0 for 3 now, has walked twice, scored a run, and Shackelford has a couple of strikeouts. On the corners with one away. Whoa. Billy Hatcher down there. Still has quick feet.
That's his perch.
Yep.
If he's not coaching third base, he is standing right there at the top step of the dugout.
Straight up in the air, plenty deep enough to bring in another run. That makes it 9-0 Chicago. Rizzo 3 runs batted in this one, and even just, with a slow start he has had this year at the plate, barely hitting over 200, right at 200. He does have 29 runs batted in. So, his batting average is down, his on-base percentage is way down. Normally his batting average is somewhere around 290, 300. That on-base percentage right around 370, 380. Those numbers go more like 200, 300 right now. But we'll see when these two teams get together again in a couple of months. Reds don't go to Chicago until the 4th of July week. Runner at first, 2 away, 0-1 on Wilson Contreras. Ground ball to short, and this will end the inning. Cubs get a run. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 8th, trailing 9-0.
A famous comic strip and cartoon with a special ticket package that includes an exclusive Snoopy bobblehead. Plus, Peanuts characters will be at the ballpark. Hurry, limited quantities of this collectible bobblehead are available. Purchase today at reds.com/themes.
Welcome back to the ballpark. Good looking family there hanging out together, enjoying the ball game. A lot of changes here on defense for Chicago. We'll just tell you about them as we go along. We know La Stella's now playing at third. Russell is a shortstop. Zobrist is now at second base, and we know Rizzo's at first. Hayward takes over in right field. I believe it's still Happen left, and now in center is Albert Almora Jr., and on the mound, most importantly, is the left-hander Mike Montgomery. 9-0 Cubbies. Cruz, Blandino. And then the leadoff hitter Winker here in the Reds' eighth. Reds won the first game of this doubleheader. Great game. Went 11 innings. Reds had 3 leads get away. Their strike 3 called to Cruz. But they would win it when Justin Wilson came in the bottom of the 11th inning. The Cubs bullpen had just dominated the Reds through the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th innings, and Wilson came in, walked the first batter, allowed a hit to Barnhart, walked the batter to load him up, and then walked Billy Hamilton to bring in the winning run. There's a base hit into left center field by Blandino off the bench. Saying this guy's really playing well for this team. Swinging the bat well right now.
Well, he's using all fields. He's not trying to do too much. I mean, as I've said many times, the more you see him play, I think the better you appreciate what he can do.
You know, the one thing, nobody in baseball that has at least 50 plate appearances so far this year swings at pitches outside of the strike zone less than Blandino. Only 12% of the time will he swing at a pitch that is out of the strike zone. The league average is 30. He's at 12.
Wow. That's a good note on him.
Well, it's Joel again. See, if you're nice to him, you send him a little love, you get that kind of information.
Well, you know, I learned a new term tonight, and Luke Fickle brought it up earlier, the BPU.
Yes. That's a pass breakup.
PBU, the PBU, yes. And that would be passes blocked.
Pass breakup.
Well, that's what you are. You're like the NBU, which is the note breakup. He sits next to you way down there in the corner. And
now, what did I tell you on the last road trip? You started complaining about this off the air, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, because you had the stat guy with us in San Francisco as Winker's out of there on strike, sitting to your right? Indeed. So you would have been the breakup guy for me.
I threw you a few.
You did?
Yeah.
I must have missed him on the way over. Anyway, the point I made was I offered to switch seats with you on the return to home so you could sit next to Joel. So if you want to consider that tomorrow afternoon, please just let me know. And we're all good.
I'm very happy. And I certainly appreciate Joel as much as anybody out there. I can guarantee you that.
You know, speaking of appreciation, I really want to send out a very sincere appreciation to our crew here today. I mean, the camera guys, folks in the truck, our producer Josh Hall, our director Brian Hunterman, our associate producers today Kevin Penowit and Lauren White, Reds Alive producer Matt Sigafus, but everybody up here, Jesse Jackson, Jim Strickler. Talked about Joel already, and Jason up here in the booth with us as well. And you know, everybody's put in a long day today. Most of our crew has been here since probably somewhere around 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning, and they're going to be working until, you know, at least 11 o'clock tonight, if not later than that. So thanks to all. Great job.
Get $5,500 purchase allowance on most Buick Envision models.
Straight up in the air by Peraza, and this will be all for the Reds in the 8th. We're off to the 9th, mercifully, here in Game 2. Chicago leading 9-0. Toyota for over 30 offers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Happening downtown Cincinnati. Boy, what a beautiful shot that is, with a bridge, a couple of them there, and looking from the Commonwealth, and all the action going on along there these days, all the build-up, Newport Aquarium and so forth. Austin Bryce takes over on the mound now. And he follows Shackelford, who gives the Reds 3 innings and allows 2 runs. Thought Scooter might be leaving this game sooner or later. And he'll miss the final inning of this one as Blandino just stays in the game to play second. What a series for Happ. They finally got him out for the first time in this game, his last time up in the 7th inning. In 3 games of this series, he has been on base 11 times. Has Ian Happ? 11. Miller Lite hold true moment. His home run in the 4th inning was the 14,000th home run in the history of the Cubs franchise. Just the 3rd franchise to reach that figure, joining the Yankees and the Giants. Pretty nifty play right there by Duvall. 1 out.
Maybe shades of his college and early pro days of playing third base, going over to get a little backhand.
Well, that's nice. Steve Cishek getting loose in the Chicago bullpen. Apparently we'll see him in the 9th after 1 inning from Montgomery. Strike 1 to Addison Russell. Cubs got a run in the 3rd, got a run in the 4th. Sal Romano very wild tonight. In 5 innings he walked 6 batters and only 1 was an intentional walk. He did strike out 6, but he allowed 6 hits and 7 earned runs. And the walks just killed him, especially in the 5-run
like
fifth.
Romano was missing by that much, but he was missing in the same spot, missing off the plate inside the left-handers for the most part. And when he really had to throw a strike, he couldn't muster up a way to get one in there.
The strikeout of Russell, and the first 2 retired by Austin here in the 9th inning.
Austin Bryce, native of Pittsburgh.
Yes, that was the town his mom and dad were talking about. Said it's about 15 miles south of Chapel Hill. Now, Chapel Hill's a big school, a big state school, University of North Carolina there. But she said you get, and it's not a big town, though, by any means, and you get 15, 20 miles outside of Chapel Hill, and you are in some serious country. That's what she said. His mom talking to her in between games tonight. She was saying that Austin is the youngest of 3 brothers. And I just told her how proud she should be of her son. He is a really pleasant, feet solidly on the ground young man. Says they watch every night down there. Of course, that's a pretty fair stretch from your old stomping ground in Maggie Valley.
Well, I believe that's according to the TV map, that area is Reds country. Maggie Valley, anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
if it
Yes, Maggie
extends
Valley is because that's
east
far
as
western.
Pittsburgh.
Yes, that's far western North Carolina.
If you go a few more hours on I-40 to get out to Chapel Hill.
But I guess you've kind of, sort of cut ties with all that long relationship you had down there with Maggie Valley. I know you own some property down there for a spell, and there's a base hit into right field by Hayward. And,
Still have a lot of friends and folks down there that I get to see from time to time.
Always liked it when those buddies of yours came into town. They're good guys.
Jim Heigl and his brother and his buddies from the old Legends Cafe down there came up earlier this year.
You'll probably be down there this fall.
It's a good little town. There's a lot of great little towns in North Carolina. And you'd be surprised how many of those little towns are dedicated Reds towns. There's a lot of them. There's a little bit of Atlanta Braves favor down there too.
Boy, ball is in the air, hit hard, and it will go all the way to the wall, and this will bring in another Chicago run. 10-0 on a double by Almora, his first at bat tonight. I mean, we brought it up earlier. The Reds have gone in order in this series in 12 different innings. And I know I brought it up earlier, but the Cubs have only gone 1, 2, 3 in 2 innings of this series. And you say, well, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because here you have the first 2 batters retired in this inning, and granted it's a blowout game. But, I mean, next thing you know, bang, bang, single, double, they have another run. Now Zobrist, who is up there for the 6th plate appearance and the first time where he did not lead off an inning. This Cub team reminds me in a lot of ways of the old days of American League clubs where they just grind you to death. They have a lot of guys that are disciplined enough to rarely give away many at-bats. It'll happen from time to time to everybody. But, I mean, here we are 10-0, and I mean, Zobrist is going to make you earn every single pitch in this at-bat if you're on the mound. And he's gone to 3-2.
Well, the other thing they have, Tom, is a very balanced lineup from the standpoint of lefties and righties. I mean, they do the same thing in the bullpen. They've got 3 left-handers down there. And if Joe Madden wanted to send out a lineup of left-handers, he'd have a pretty good-looking lineup. If he wanted to go all right-handed, he'd have a pretty good lineup there, too.
This will be the final out in the inning, but the Cubs get one more. And the Reds will bat in the bottom of the 9th, trailing 10-0. Caratini is now at first base, replacing Anthony Rizzo. Still having some fun at the old ballpark here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Cishek we saw in the first game of a doubleheader for one batter, and he retired that batter. Rosell Herrera will lead things off here in the Cincinnati 9th inning, batting for the first time in a game. And that's a second major league hit for Rosell Herrera.
Well, he takes it back up the middle and he gets hit number 2, and he's one of these easy kids to root for. Young man that came into big league camp as a non-roster invitee. Had a nice camp. Hit a couple of home runs early in camp. People remembered that.
I remember it really caught your eye. You were talking about that.
Very versatile in the field. Plays all over the place. He played in the infield a lot. He played a lot in the outfield.
You were down there early on in spring training. I had not come out yet. You were talking about Rosell Herrera.
Here he is in the big leagues.
Trying to remember that guy's name a few years ago. That
Vladimir Guerrero.
No, Ballantine.
No, Ballantine.
That was a guy that. Him and David Holmberg. Well, off the pitcher's glove, they get one. Boy, Russell, he's got a cannon. Who was the shortstop we just saw recently that had the best arm we thought we had seen since Sean Dunston? Why am I drawing a blank on who that is? That we had just played recently and we saw his. Oh, the kid from you were off. It was a kid from the Mets. The young shortstop they have. But I tell you, Addison Russell's got a cannon too. What's that young man's name? I got to go back and dig through the scorebook here because we so rarely ever see the Mets anymore.
Well, we thought the third baseman from the Minnesota Twins had one of the best arms.
Yeah, but Rosario, Ahmed Rosario, golly day does he have an arm. And the Reds are down to their final line. And Billy Hamilton will bat for the first time since he drew the bases loaded walk to end the first game of this series, or of this doubleheader. Came with the bases loaded, a walk-off walk. That was the first time, by the way, since Ruben Mateo walked in 2003 wearing a Reds uniform against San Diego, where the Reds won a game with the final pitch being ball 4. There's a name from the past, Ruben Mateo. Everybody had big, high expectations of him. The Reds weren't the only one. He had the single wildest base running play. If you ever want to go YouTube something, go YouTube the base running play. Oh, that was Ruben Rivera. Thank you. I was doing that game. Swing and a miss, strike 3. And that'll do it in game 2. So the Reds and the Cubs split a doubleheader. Reds win game 1 5-4. Cubs shut them out in game 2 10-0. Reds Live right around the corner. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.